Hi everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul and Marisa from Growing the Flow, and we are actually officially recording a first episode for 2026, which is for the month of February, which is going to be a loaded month to unpack. So welcome, Marisa, and it's nice to see you again.
See me in the light. There is illumination, which last time we met here for Stars and Cards, that was not the case. And interestingly, we had some flickering earlier here, which we just can't make up because it hadn't happened since we last met. And while the weeks that followed have taken us in different directions that we weren't able to circle back around and talk about those cards and everything that came forward, it's kind of in alignment with this sort of reset energy that we find coming up as we're really finishing out that snake year, shedding the final little bits of that year nine and making way into February for the Lunar New Year, the fire horse, and a whole heck of a lot of other stuff going on.
Yep, eclipses are knocking on our door. And I was just going to say that we didn't have time to catch up for another episode in between because we were living the energies.
Exactly. Our lived experience is what we bring you here from all of that. Yeah, which as we're
Exactly.
of course recording this before February 1st. So if you did catch episode 45, it ended with the devil energy, right, that came forward when the lights went out. So, we're still kind of riding all that here as we're finishing out the first year of 2026. It feels like January always feels, I hear some people like, can you believe that it's already the end of January? And yet I was like, it is still January, like still.
Well, for me, it has gone very quickly, like because obviously of going to the US, coming back, and just back and forth, and everything that came with it. It just feels like, oh my God, like it feels like the whole 2026 happened in one month.
That's
So
what I
now we
mean.
already
Yeah,
moving to
that was the longest
2027.
year. Yes, exactly. And it's funny because, yeah, you're right. It does feel fast because it moves, like there's so much happening that you don't really have time to really digest and really, adjust. And so it goes fast, but also so much happens that if
Yeah,
you're trying to remember what it was like on New Year's Eve and to think that was
exactly.
even a month ago and it feels like a year ago. So it's both, it's so interesting how that comes up.
Yeah, it's interesting energy that's been playing out, and I feel that this is going to be the whole year with all these transitions we've got going. Like this is the first episode of us recording with Neptune being in Aries, and then of course next month we'll have Saturn moving into Aries and Saturn Neptune conjunction in the middle of the eclipse season. So, and then of course in later on in April we'll have Uranus, and then Jupiter will move into Leo, and then Odes will move in summer, and Chiron will move in between. So I feel that this first half of the year will be like so fast, and then whatever these new placements are going to bring with themselves, we're going to be maybe getting used to it in the second half of the year. But in any case, I really feel that with the horse that's coming in, fire horse no less, the energy of this year is very quick.
Yeah, for sure. The word's been momentum. And now, as you're saying, that movement, like movement, momentum, things are happening. Um, and it's sort of like I was kind of because I'm still feeling into February's energy for the empowerment pack. And it's like something with like on your marks, get set, go. Like the horses are readying to leave the stable, kind of take off, but yet we're not quite there yet. So it is that weird energy, but all the things are lining up. Everything's happening, it's all happening and all the movement. So I'm super curious to see what comes up for us. And we hit the ground running February 1st with a full moon in Leo, no less. So,
Exactly.
talk about fire, talk about it all happening. So let's start there. I've pulled our cards already, so we're gonna reveal our Queen of the Moon Oracle energy for our two lunations. So let us see.
Oh,
Oh, masculine indeed, the fire. Okay, so we got the masculine coming in, and it's card 42. Um, wow, haven't seen that one in a while. Um, wow, so that feels spot on because we're moving from the yin energy of 2025 and now it's yang, so the masculine coming in and the fire, like I said. So I'm not surprised to see that coming in here. And there is one little thing about this card that I hadn't always seen, is there's sort of like a little, I see them as children, but they're in the distance. Does
Oh
that come
yeah,
out?
yeah.
I'd never noticed that before, but it's interesting because, the masculine and really calling to bringing that to the forefront, but yet it feels very connected to the inner child and the divine masculine and feminine within all, which is coming into balance. And in
Mm.
this case, what's coming forward is the masculine here.
Yeah, I really feel that this card is very strongly connected to the energy of the fire horse, and also, as we already mentioned, the Neptune now in Aries and soon to be followed by Saturn in Aries and their conjunction. And just like I already named, pretty much every single planet that's moving this year, the significant ones that are moving slower, because of course, like Venus, Mercury, Mars, they're moving much faster around. But yes, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto will all be in a masculine sign. All of them. Chiron will be in Taurus, which is feminine. So I really feel that this masculine energy, where it's interesting because yesterday I recorded with Lada, and she actually mentioned that, saying that the time of healing is over. Okay, we don't have time anymore. We've been healing all this time, in our feminine, like healing and like, okay, let me be with my emotion. Let me just sit here in stillness. And of course, that will be still part of the picture. It doesn't mean, like you and I, we were talking in our personal conversation about the nervous system and the emotional regulation and stuff. That's still part of the picture. It's not going anywhere. But now is this inspired action. Okay, now you've done enough to know a little bit with regards to where you're moving, or what do you want, or where do you want to go, or what do you want to create and stuff. And especially with Jupiter moving into Leo in coming into the second half of the year, that will be amplified, and we will of course touch on that when we come to that time. But Jupiter in Leo is all about creation, creativity, and Jupiter amplifies everything. So yeah, for the time being, still with the nodes in Virgo, Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer, currently still retrograde. It's still a mixed energy, but with these eclipses and the horse coming online, I really feel this masculine is starting to make itself known.
Yeah, I keep feeling the word like forward, like it's masculine forward. So like we see both in the backdrop and it's all there. And even just like the whole spectrum of the phases and what we're moving through above him, and he's holding both, but it's masculine forward. Like that's what's presenting right now because it is bringing forward this action-oriented fire aspect that what we're certainly going to be dipping into here in February with that Leo full moon kicking us off and eclipses. So, yeah, it is all happening. So that'll be interesting to see how that's playing out with the masculine. I wanted to see what the mantra was for that one because I haven't seen that in so long, but I don't know what it says on the bottom. Oh, lunar god is the name on the card. So, all right. So standing there in the masculine, let's bring forward the card that goes with it for the beginning of August with our first
February.
August. Why did I say August?
Well, that will be the Leo season.
Yeah, maybe
Wait.
that's what I was thinking, Leo. I don't know. I'm not ready for that. Although I would be ready for the sunshine right now because we're under a frozen tundra right now. August. That's interesting. Okay, let's see. Well, trust fall into the new, fresh start here. So yeah, okay, the Fool coming forward. Um, it does feel like this is a whole new energy that we're stepping into, because we are officially closing out that wood snake and really starting to engage with the 2026 energies. So that's interesting to see the Fool to start us off in February.
And I feel this also connected to the frequency of Aquarius because, of course, we are still in the Aquarius season until, the later part of February, but also um, the Aquarius energy, like it's because it is a solar eclipse in Aquarius, even though the North Node is still in a sign of Pisces. So it's not yet in Aquarius, it's still in a sign of Pisces. So again, we can see the mixture. North Node is in Pisces, feminine. but we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius, okay? And actually, there is that interesting fact that this year we have eclipses in all four elements because we have the Aquarius, which is the air, we have the Virgo, we will have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 3-3 portal, we will talk about next time. And then in the summer, we will have the Leo, a new moon solar eclipse, and the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. So we have all elements working together to bring in this new energy where we're trying to balance aspects of ourselves, invite aspects of ourselves that perhaps have been dormant, maybe the aspects of ourselves that have been in override, like too much of one element. So with this full, I feel this is also, like we keep saying, we are in a year 1, but it's actually year 10. So it has the hidden zero, like you said, that it's a shift energy. This is where the 2026 really will start coming online in this month of February. And then, of course, in March, we will experience the beginning of the astrological year. So we know it's like January 1st, the beginning of calendar year. February this year, we have the beginning of lunar year, and then we'll have the beginning of astrological year. So yeah, by the end of April, we will know, I guess, what is this energy about a little bit more intimately. But I feel that the full is very strongly connected to the Aquarius solar eclipse and the lunar beginning of the new lunar year.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I did not realize that about the elements, but that's so true. So that's really interesting. And you're right about the hidden zero. Like we all just kind of wrote off the zero because like, yeah, it's a 10, but it's a 1. But the zero is in there and it is a placeholder and it marks that spot where we're dropping into that energy then for the magician, for bringing forward all of this energy of manifestation and all the things that the 1 is carrying, but the zero is there too. So that's interesting that we get the only zero in the pack, that comes up. And then she's holding an amethyst crystal in her hand as well, which is very much about connecting in those upper chakras, the third eye, the crown, and connecting into our inner knowing and our intuition. And there's protection and it amplifies things, amethyst crystals. So there is this sense of just really I like how she's just kind of trust falling in, but it's also like the flower of life pool that she's falling into. So it really is just like all of these aspects, all of these things are all contributing to the pot here of what we're co-creating with this year. And so her being dressed in yellow, I always like to say it brings me into that solar plexus energy of that sense of I am and our identity, but also how much is happening right now to highlight that yellow frequency. Because whether we're talking about, yeah, we're, courageous and bold and joy and all the high vibration expressions of yellow, but also from a lower vibrational, this is where we see the ego on parade and everything that's going on the world stage right now. And in the lower vibrational frequencies of fear and worry, anxiety, lack, all of those things that are all a part of this intricate web of what's making up the fabric of what we're experiencing, but we're at a 0 point. So it's all being reset now to reset. And so we are holding that with that, like that amethyst crystal in this sense of like, what are we going to create and from where are we creating?
Yeah, and it's interesting that the August came up for you because, of course, we are beginning the month of February with the full moon in Leo, and the new moon in Leo was in August. So this is where we might see an illumination of something that has been playing out in our lives since last summer, since August. So now we might have a little bit more clarity about maybe the purity of the situation or authenticity or the purpose, because, right, with Leo is also about your life purpose, your destiny, but also going forward into the summer 2026, as we already mentioned, that's where it's going to be the first eclipse in Leo. So this is the midpoint. The full moon in Leo is a midpoint between last new moon in Leo and the next new moon in Leo, which will be in fact the eclipse. So I feel that it's interesting because I really feel with this Saturn moving into Aries and this new conjunction we'll have towards the end of February, February 20th on the 0 point of Aries, I really feel that because I know that there's been a lot of energy of maturation, like the world card with the year number 9 last year. And also we have the snake, the Bora Bora, the snake eats itself and then it starts all over again. It's just like a cycle, right? Just almost like your picture behind you. But I also feel that to a certain extent, because of everything that's playing out right now, I don't know why, and I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like we've been granted more like will, like in a sense, like more power to choose. Like, like you maturated, you graduated, here you go. Now you are like qualified. So, you are being granted more power, more of your gifts, more of something. And that now what you're going to do with it, and of course, being in the year of the magician, we have all the elements, everything we've gone through, everything we experience, whether individually, collectively, and now where we gonna what we gonna do with it, right? Where we gonna run with it, and that's where the yellow, the solar plexus, the courage, the sense of yeah, courage, pride, the sense of I am, the ego. Um, who do I want to be? What do I want to create? So it's interesting that the month of February, which is such an interesting month, starts with this full moon in Leo as the illumination and the midpoint of something that got seeded, and will end with the eclipse. So I feel like we have a little bit more free will at this time, even because there's so much destiny playing out this year. But I really feel that right now, when everything is so new, it's like not you can get away with stuff, but you have like, what do you want? Just choose. Like everything is up for grabbing.
Yeah, will, that's a good word, will, and also with the yellow, like I said, the joy. So when we bring in that aspect of for the fun of it, for the joy, for the fact that it lights me up, for the fact that it
Mm.
sounds interesting, that I'm curious. That's another big part of the Fool is just the curiosity, the will or the drive to experience something completely new that's never been experienced before. And it's kind of reminding me of like, you know, imagine she's, trust falling into that pool and maybe the first time you do it, there's a lot of nerves and we're not sure about it. And what happens if I like belly flop or, I hit a rock? I don't know. But then you do it and it's fun. And not only did you survive, but it was like, oh, okay. And then before you know it, you're up there jumping off of it all day. Like there's this sense of like
Yeah.
the will is because this is not our first rodeo. Like we've started to sort of step into making choices, experiencing the outcomes and the consequence of those choices and being like it's quoting a movie and it's also saying like there's this thing where it's like when you have an experience and the person goes, "But did you die though? Did you die?" No. Okay, so you're good. So it's sort of like, all right, I did this really scary thing, or I took this plunge, or I went for something, and whatever happened, whatever, was it successful? Do I deem it as unsuccessful? Do I see it as a failure or a mistake? And it's like, but did you die though? No, I'm still here. And so now I have the will for a new experience. I have the desire to have a new experience because even though I might be shaking, even if I might feel like I'm not sure, or do I have what it takes, or whatever the whole host of things the ego will do to try to keep us safe and small, I'm going for it. So there's definitely like some people feel too like going for some things, trying some things that maybe they've never tried before, but just doing it. So there's just this sense of having that will to do something completely new too
Mhm.
for some people, I feel.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if Mars was moving into Pisces this month, but it will be in March. Yeah, because like you were saying about the trustful, trustful into the unknown. To me, it's really what came to my mind was like, in Avatar, like they connect the end of their hair, the thing with like the dragons that are flying them around, or with the fish, in the second Avatar, and then they go underwater, like there's that connection, the connection of consciousness, that we become one. I can feel you, I can feel your heartbeat, stuff like that. So what came to me really with regards to this particular connection card with this situation and these energies is that we are really learning to trust, the universe, right? Because Mars currently is in Aquarius and will be throughout the entire February. So we are learning to trust the universe that, yeah, the first time I'm afraid to trust. How the hell do I know? I can't control it. I don't know where I'm going, like with the Fool, yeah, having the courage, but also be able to regulate the nervous system enough to allow yourself to go for it, to go into this unknown. And then, yeah, it's like, well, we always connected, we always connected, not just to our higher self, to each other, to spirit guides, there are so many things we in constant connection to, like, like the trees and the mushrooms and the, underground, right? They're all connected, but you can't see, right? You can't see with your naked eye unless you go digging, right? So unless I go digging deep into my soul, then I can feel it. I can feel it in my heart, but otherwise otherwise I can't see it, my ego can't identify it. So that's what came to me, like this free fall and this trust, like we learning to trust that, yeah, there are things that you have a free will, just like you and I we are talking about. But in a big scheme of things, there are not so many things we can control in this life. There are not so many things we have a control over, right? So it's like learning to trust that you are connected to something that has your back. Like this person, she's gonna fall. Okay, if she doesn't die, she's gonna do it again just because she enjoys the fall, right? There's something to catch you. And that's, I feel, what we are learning. We are learning to adjust to that way of being, to go with the flow and to trust that there is a divine intelligence, that there is something you connected to that has your back, and you will be okay. At some point, we will go look back and realize that, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun.
It was fun, and it was the experience that my soul came here to have and to co-create with other souls that are on their fool's journey, because this is where it all begins and this is where we set out from. And so it's so neat that the pool she's falling into has all of that, net of light with the seed of life, with the flower of life, because it's like that is all the stuff. Every single little choice, every single move that is made that makes up the whole. And so when we move from a place of pure joy and pure love and light, like that's where it just doesn't matter really what the outcome, because it's really that's the point of the journey that of what we're creating. So there's definitely this strong sense of like taking that plunge, taking that action, making that move that's coming in here with both of these cards,
Mm.
setting us off. And then bringing us into middle of the month, we'll see what comes forward. So we got a major arcana card here. So let's see what comes next. Another one.
Wow. I
So,
am familiar with this one.
you are, yes. And you know what? This comes up a lot. I was just doing a card pull before we came on, and justice was featured because there really is this energy of, and actually I have to show you because it's a really cool one. This is from the winter season tarot.
Oh,
But
wow.
isn't that cool how pitted against each other on those scales are what usually would be like a predator prey, the eagle and the rabbit and this and the sword in the distance, which in here she's holding the sword as her scales. But in both cases, it's like, they would typically be at odds, but yet it's balancing out in this way that the justice is bringing in this karmic balancing and this equalizing that's going on right now that I think we're continuing to see in February because it's all just, still playing out here. And these are both significant energies on our Fool's Journey. These are major arcana cards. So they're significant archetypes in humanity's journey right now, and February is definitely a key part of that story.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, we have Saturn is moving on 13th or 14th of February, depending where you are in the world. And then 17th is the eclipse and the beginning of the lunar year. And then 20th is the conjunction, Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 0 point. And by that point, we are in Pisces season, right? So there are a lot of things happening around that midpoint mark. So, and I just, I was listening to Lee Harris, and he was channeling these, and they said, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing, that in February, a lot of light, especially the midpoint. They didn't say eclipse, but, obviously me being astrologer, like, like, oh, okay, yeah, there's the eclipses.
Yeah.
So they said like we've been in a dark place for like 7 weeks. So I think they're counting from that solstice, 21st of February, when we know a lot of things were going on energetically, that on the like mid month point, a lot of light will start streaming through. So, I feel like with the justice, yeah, you could look at it like, oh, what's gonna be balance, in my life, karma, blah, blah, blah. But also we've been experiencing a lot of density, right? Especially this January with everything that's been going on politically and otherwise. There's a lot of density also with the weather, like a lot of extremes, like crazy weather. And I feel that for whatever reason, also as this card signifies and other people confirming, there will be certain balancing. So it's not all bad, okay, guys? There are things to look forward to, like there is also when, the dark is playing out its thing, then also the light will add to balance the scale. So I really feel that there will be some very positive energy coming in, even though I know that historically eclipses are feared. People feared eclipses, but we are in the age of Aquarius, and this is a solar eclipse in Aquarius with, Pisces North Node. So I think it's time maybe to let go of that, story that eclipses are bad. Like, why? Who said? So I think it's maybe was perceived bad historically because we cannot control it, right? Like that's when the destiny is in play. But as you mentioned before, that's just your higher self in charge. So don't worry about it. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, no, I love that whole stream of because like it's here, the reflection is someone else, looks different, but yet there's this mirror reflection. So there's this sense of like, well, behind the curtain, who's behind the curtain and it's us. It's our soul selves, we're creating from this place, but it looks here as unfair, as winner and loser, right or wrong, and all the very intricate ways that it's playing out. And it's never to downplay what it is to go through that experience. But it feels like the eclipses almost feel like a slingshot, like something that actually gives us a jump start, that gives us like we actually get to go up quickly over a lot of this, this karmic healing and balancing and all these things that are going on. It's actually like I don't want to say shortcut because it's not like we're not doing the work, but I mean, actually, let's use that. Here we go with the momentum. Use the momentum to move you. You think about literally think about the introduction of the horse into humanity in terms of what that enabled humans to do with horsepower, with the ability to move and create and physically relocate, which expanded our awareness of like just thinking of it on that scale. But again, that's where people were coming from in the context of fearing something that they didn't understand or that they couldn't see or that they felt out of control. It's all emotional. But the reality here that we've come to learn or that we're learning to remember is that we're actually co-creating in every moment. So where am I going to co-create from? And that's what I'm taking my responsibility for in my sovereign being is like what I'm doing, how I'm contributing as a drop in the ocean is where our focus is brought into. And yeah, for sure, like justice and all of the themes that go with it, we will continue to see playing out, no question. So again dualistic in its meaning, I think, because we're going to see it in all the ways.
Yeah, but having 2 out of 3 major arcanas make me curious to see
I
what is the
know. I want
final
to see what
card.
this one is. All right, let's reveal. Ah,
Oh,
okay. 7 of Wands. So, yeah. So, you see, this always brings me again into this solar plexus, and she's in that bubble. There's this protective bubble because there is maybe a call for putting up a little bit of that, protection around us in terms of like, where am I putting my focus? As we
mm,
talk about all the things that are going on and coming at us and energies that are pulling and all the experiences we're having, I always say this reminds me of the soundproof booth. It's like she's
mm.
there, like la la la, like she's not looking at it, but she's centered in her sense of self, and being in that space. Um, so that'll be end of the month of February. So yeah, what happens after all that stuff we said in the middle of the month? What's coming
Well,
in
I
here?
mean, we have the eclipse on the 3-3, so that will be then build up towards the Virgo eclipse, right? Which, interestingly enough, we'll have one more next year, even though the nodes will be already in Aquarius, and so it's like crazy with these eclipses, how they weirdly play. I mean, since I was, looking at things in 2029, we're gonna have 6 eclipses, okay? Just to give you a heads up. 2028, 5 eclipses, 2029, 6 eclipses. So I mean, the astrology is just going completely out of out of pattern, out of the box. So
Yeah.
that's completely beside the point. But yeah, between towards the end of the month, we'll be obviously building up for the Virgo one, which we had 2 Virgo new moon, we might remember. The first one was in August on the 0 point, and then the second one was in September on the 29 degrees, and that was the eclipse, the seeding of this energy. So again, we are getting illumination at the beginning of February with the Leo, like what is the authenticity, what is the purpose, what's going on here, right? And then towards the end of the month, we'll be getting ready for that second eclipse to hit. And by that point, because Uranus is actually, yeah, that's something we forgot to mention. Uranus is stationing at the beginning of February on February 3rd. And then after eclipses in March, Jupiter will station direct. So we have all of these energies of like energy of the last year culminating because these planets go in retrograde, so they're going over the same territory that they were last year, and then they're going to go forward. So this is, and with the Seven of Wands, of course, traditionally in the traditional tarot is like stand your ground, stand your ground, like protect what matters to you, it's like I think is the Leo, the Leo energy of the Wands, plus is the final decan, so that would be Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, so like maybe now after this maybe Aquarian eclipse, like you said, we might be catapulted into some different frequencies, into some different perception of something. We'll be like, okay, with the full moon in Leo, now eclipse in Aquarius, the conjunction between Saturn, Neptune, and then building up towards this Virgo, which is all about put it into practice, right? Like, okay, well, now what you gonna do with it? How are you gonna put it into practice? And of course, this person, and again, we go back to the topic of the year, the nervous system we've been talking about, you've been talking about, I was talking about, a lot of people have been talking about, like being in all this electric energy. How do you take care of yourself? Like, okay, because like, yeah, we all want to be enlightened, awakened, ascended, da 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 da. But can the body take it? Can the brain take it? Can the emotion take it? Like all the bodies, the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, all the bodies. So I feel like maybe towards the end of the month, after everything that we will have gone through in February in preparation for the Virgo eclipse, which seems much more gentler than the Aquarian one somehow. It seems like, okay, we are in Pisces season, so it doesn't feel as shocking maybe. Who knows? It will be time like, okay, now how am I going to stand in what I know is to be right for me based on what we've gone through or something. So I don't know, but I mean, there is a lot of pink, which of course invites us to that heart chakra opening. And she seems to be in a good place, even though she's not looking straight, she's looking to the side. Um, so I feel this will play out the way people choose it to play out.
Yeah. And I think too, I was thinking her looking to the side was like she was looking back because I'm seeing it like we start here and we're
Oh, yeah,
moving.
yeah, yeah.
It's sort of like that last look over because I've heard a lot of guidance out there about this is really the goodbye to the old world. This is the final look back in February, really, as it's all changing. Um,
Mm,
that I do feel that these were major, this is minor, but it makes up the people, places, and things that are this fool's journey, this experience. And standing our ground in terms of like who am I and who do I desire to be? Because that's what the fire is asking us. What do you desire? What lights you up? What is your passion? What did you come here to share with the world that you've been perhaps held back or playing small because of all that out of order solar plexus stuff and the ego and all the things that once you take that plunge into what's possible, it does create this balance where now it's sort of like, okay, I get it now. I'm looking back at those things and seeing how they served, how they were no longer serving, and now what do I wish to create? And with that fire. But to our, not so fast, hold your horses because the physical body has to catch up. And we know that that's the last spot. So there could be some kind of going into that little bubble, into that space where we come back into our center and we just get still and are able to, in all the things that are going on, be able to allow ourselves to recalibrate, to hold it. All of these things coming at us and how rapidly things are happening too. It just feels like even just kind of taking a step into that soundproof booth to be able to time out into processing all of this as best we can, but also, being readying ourselves for taking that glance into what's coming next.
The upcoming cycle. Yeah. Also, what came to me was, I believe, and I just want to check quick, Mercury will be in his shadow by the end of the month, preparing for his retrograde, which will be in March. Yeah, that's right. So Mercury will be in his shadow and actually will station retrograde at the end of February, February 26th. So Mercury will be direct for the first eclipse, but already in his shadow as of February 11th. And Mercury will station retrograde February 26th and will be retrograde throughout March. So for the second eclipse until I think is the end of March, let me check exact, 20th of March. So pretty much on the same day when Sun moves into Aries, Mercury will station direct. So this to me, because like what you rightly pointed out, she's looking back. And like there is the fool, there is the masculine saying we're going forward, we're going ahead, just like you mentioned. And then there is the fool, and it's saying that okay, we're going into this unknown, we're going into this new direction, like Aries and all, right? Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries. The source desire, the soul's desire has changed, wants new direction, new experience. The Saturn, let's manifest something new out of it, right? And then it's that balancing, yeah, like the past, present, future, everything is coexisting at the moment. But I really feel because Mercury obviously is going to be the ruler of Uranus for the upcoming 7 years. And then Uranus is the ruler of Pluto, which is the evolution, the soul's desire for incarnation. Why the hell we even here, to learn, expand, grow, blah, 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 all the rest of it. So I really feel that this Mercury retrograde, and also because it is Pisces and Pisces only. Last year we had the Aries to Pisces back to Aries. Now it's just Pisces, it's not doing the Aries Pisces, it's just Aries, that's it. And this is at Mercury's final retrograde before Uranus moves into Gemini. So this is why I feel it's like significant because this is really the last look back. This is with, I mean, in the middle of it, obviously, Uranus will station direct as the ruler, co-ruler of the North Node, Mercury current ruler of the South Node. So this really is the last look back. Like, let's look, all our thoughts, our beliefs, what it manifested. And with the Uranus coming into Gemini in April, which is the unlimited potential of whatever timeline you even want to tap into, right? And with Uranus, obviously, anything is anything and everything is possible. So it does hold like a dual energy this month in some way for me. Like I feel like there is a lot of hope with all these new frequencies and downloads and potentialities of these Aquarius and stuff, but certain level of nostalgia because
Mhm.
it really is a lot of it. It really is the last time, and we have an emotional attachment to these emotions and dramas and stories and all the rest of it. And now thinking and knowing, inner knowing, because our soul knows already um, that the world will never be the same. It will never be the same. Your life will never be the same. This is, in a sense, another transitionary year where, yes, we start in the year with planets in the all signs, retrogrades for some. And we're gonna end the year apart from Chiron. Chiron is gonna go back into Aries, but everyone else will stay. So, we are going, and with the horse, we're going quick. So, yeah, I really feel that at the end of the month, probably a lot of that might potentially hit us on a visceral, physical level,
Mhm.
or maybe just the emotional level, who knows? And go like, okay, yeah, how can I prepare? How can I really regulate this knowing in my being?
Yeah. Yeah, and it is something that we have to calibrate and adjust, which is where I see the scales too, because it feels like um things coming due, like all the things that have been on borrow or that we've been just able to hold it together because it's ending and it's never going to be the same. And we don't mean that. And I mean, it's a big deal. It is a big deal, but not in a way, again, to be fearful. It's
No.
something to be kind of rather excited because this is it. This is showtime that so many people that tap into the tools that we do have been talking about for so long, and now it's actually here.
Mm.
That there is nerves about all of that, because wow, this is really happening. But not everybody's on that same, so it's just everybody's having that experience through their own lenses and in their own soundproof booths, and sometimes to the detriment of, just being unaware of what other people are experiencing too. So it's just all the ingredients that make for the experience that we will all be having as we move into this new time, so it's kind of neat how it all lays out here because it really does make a lot of sense to have all that significant energy coming in and then sort of that last look back. But it is in this, the fire is there, the energy of what we're creating and our wands and how we wield them in the world, but it's all influenced by and on the back of everything that's come before it. So, yeah, February is setting us up. So, it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's the cosmic setup.
Yes, there we go. It's creating that backdrop for us. So, we're going to pull one more card. And as usual, you chose our deck for us. You tried to let me choose, but I was like, oh, I don't know. What do you think? So you reminded me that we have not used angels and ancestors for quite a while. So we're going to bring that in for a little punctuation on our messages for February.
Little grounding messages with all of these Aquarius moving into Pisces.
Yeah, this definitely has a real earthy, grounded feeling in this deck. So we'll anchor it in. See what wants to come up for us collectively. Okay. The trader. Exchange energy to create abundance.
That's so interesting because this card, I believe, came up for my 111 portal reading, this year. And I have a thoughts about that card, but obviously I'm curious to hear what you tap into.
Exchange energy to create abundance. That's really interesting because I think on every level, whether we're talking about literally, money and all things pentacles in terms of material, and what we're all doing in the world is one aspect that I can see where I think energy exchange being sort of a wave of, where things are at right now. So just like from a practical level, I could see where, that's bringing in a message. But also the tapestry and the way that there's all these different, threads and different strands that create, the product that we see, but it's all made from all of these different threads that are coming in, similar to the way that we have all the different color wands that are coming in here too. Like there's that, I'm going to see what the Oracle says, and then um oh, there we go. Trader. Okay. Make connections and exchange information, talents, or support. Yeah. So this is bringing in the lesson and energy of exchange, and that it could represent an opportunity to exchange talents, whatever they might be, in order to expand, or to be about the exchange of energies that come from the universe, or both. So it's saying that, maybe you're a creative person or you consider yourself creative, and when you share your talents, you are giving them. And when you do so, the universe will give you more in order for you to share more. So it's all a beautiful cycle. And yet, I do have thoughts about how that feels when we're moving through it. But the message is saying that the universe operates under the law of cause and effect and is always looking to return to a natural state of balance. So if you are lacking the feelings of abundance at this time, you are being invited to share your time, your gifts, and your understanding with others. If you're frustrated because something isn't unfolding in your life, instead of asking yourself what you can get, ask yourself what you can give. The exchange of energy doesn't necessarily mean financial energy. It can also be about supporting in order to feel supported. If you've been holding back with your offerings, now is the time to change that. Allow yourself to be open, honest, and vulnerable. This can prepare you to open up to even greater opportunities in the coming days, weeks, and months. So that's interesting because again, I can see all different levels. Like many of us are at this place of like, what am I doing? What is my work in the world? This isn't working anymore, or things are just not lining up, and there's like frustration in that, or whatever that this is saying, if you wish to see something outside of you, you give that first, or you be that first, which then ties into, again, what we want to see as a reality on this planet. We talk about being peace, being unconditional love, being all of those things first within, so without. And so I can see that aspect of it as well. And then also, the people that we're trading experiences and energy with can also come in forms that we maybe wouldn't prefer, right? So, like, I can also feel into the part of that message that's like the people we're co-creating with can show up in some combative ways or some, challenging ways or things like that, where it's about then kind of finding the value in it in ways that maybe weren't overtly obvious in the experience because it's something that we're like, yeah, I don't want to experience that. But we're trading that energy as well to create something new.
Mm. Well, there are a few things that really popped up for me. The fact that we began and end the reading with a man in a car, that's interesting. Like everything in between is the women. And then the fact that it mentioned the law of karma, cause and
Thought.
effect, which is connected to the justice card, which is in the middle. And also his pillow is the same color as the color of the
Yeah.
bubble that she is in. But what comes to me, which is similar, I think, what I shared in when this card came up in the reading that I offered. But what comes to me in this particular situation, because of the connection to the justice and stuff, and I think some of them I might have already mentioned, is that just like you said, sometimes the people come into your life to trade and what they offer in, like, I don't want this. So because it comes next to the card of boundaries, the seven of wands, stand your ground, put your boundaries. I feel this also is to do with, I don't want to play that role anymore. I don't want to play the role of the bad guy or the good guy or the savior or the victim or anything. I just want to start afresh, like the fool. I want to start a new cycle. I don't want to, us to keep doing this back and forth and like you are the bad guy or I'm the bad guy now or whatever I am. So I feel there are multiple things. Obviously, he has his hands on his heart. So it's like, like you pointed out to me, where is that boundary coming from? Is it your mind or is it your heart? Like what is it trying to protect? Who is the protector, in this situation? So I think there are all these different nuances where we are always exchanging, we are in a constant exchange with everything, just being here alive, breathing the air. We are exchanging with the earth, with the atmosphere. So it's about exchanging consciously, perhaps, like maybe with the hand on heart, like just like you advised to me, like taking the moment, like that person next to him, to be in the stillness, be in my own bubble, be in my own energy, taking the deep breaths, connect with the essence within me to decide what do I want to offer to the universe for this experience? What do I want to offer to this person where this is the only exchange I know we have so far? This is the only exchange interaction we have. And I'm tired of it. I don't want to play this role anymore. I don't want this person to play this role anymore for me. So I feel this is like, because of where it came and how it came within this particular reading, I think that in this particular reading, this card to me signifies that we are going to start being more conscious about our relationship with everything. Our interaction, like what are we trading, what for, and is it actually what I want? Is what you offering me what I'm wanting to buy? Or what I'm offering to you, is that what you actually need? But I'm sure that you do, on a soul level. But I don't know. That's like, again, what I come back to is that I feel that right now we are granted much more free will and power than before because of where we are as a humanity. So like we graduated, so like when you are 5 year old, your parents don't give you so much freedom because you're too small and you don't know what to do with it. But then when you are 15-year-old or 16-year-old, better said, you get the keys from your parent car, like, okay, well, I trust you a bit more, you proved. It's kind of like that. So I feel with the trading, it's like we have much more say than we think with regards to how we experience in this life. And it's a matter of tuning in, to that higher guidance, to make the choices that are more in alignment rather than the mind, which just wants to replicate the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what comes to me in a juggered way.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all so, it's like rich. Like I'm really feeling the tapestry symbolism here of like all the layers and the threads and that they all contribute to create the final product. And so it's almost like, yes, like I am the sum total of all of the choices, the actions, my inactions, like all these different aspects that make up who I am, the good, the bad, the ugly, and they're all woven in here in this thing that I have to trade, that I have to bring to the table. It's my unique energy imprint of who I am. And but there is, and I love how even his hand is on the heart, like really that body language of like taking stock of like, well, what am I bringing to the table to trade? What energy do I have to exchange? Again, I'm making it about me. I'm putting the focus back on where I can wield the most power is in my from here. And so we're brought back in and we're creating with intention because I understand. And I was thinking about, I had heard a podcast the other week and the guest was saying about, the way that the change is sort of dawning on us now. Like it's as if the sun is just coming up over the horizon, but we don't yet see the sun, but we gradually see more light coming in.
Hmm.
And another analogy was, if you look at this tapestry and you just remove one color from the threads, like remove all the red. And then we look at that tapestry and we go, well, something's different. It doesn't look the same, but I'm not quite sure what it is because, each one of those threads contribute to who we are. And so if the red represents, something for which we, we're shameful or we regret or, that we feel some lower vibrational, we're hiding it or something. But actually, it's a part of our tapestry, and who we are and and also that we get to decide how we're going to weave all of those. So we reserve the right to change that tapestry and to read and do it in different ways too. So I see, sort of taking accountability, but also exercising that free will to create something new with what we have, with what we bring into what's next, And so it is interesting the color because it's like almost a perfect match, like these pinks,
Exactly.
like it definitely feels like a continuation of that energy that like after I look back and I reconcile that, then we turn to the new and it's all fabricated. It's made by all these, strands of energy that we bring forward with us.
Yeah, and I also feel like when I put the cards together in a very simplified way, it's like, okay, the old is balance to the, like, you've done enough healing, okay? The old is balance, okay? You are where you are right now. You start in a new journey, you're standing in your power, you put in the boundaries, whatever, to protect your new expression. What is the contract? Because it's like, with the Saturn in Pisces, I've been saying about like the old contracts, we have the opportunity to balance the old contracts so they dissolve. So again, I don't have to play this role anymore. This role we were maybe reincarnating for many, many lifetimes to, like offer this opportunity for healing or balancing the scales, whatever. So yeah, so that was another thing that came with regards to this card. Like, what is the new contract? What is the new role? What is the new trade you want to make with the universe? Like what, like you said, what is your new expression or this essence or soul signature that you want to put out there? So like, I don't know, I just really feel that this is a really interesting month because I feel like we are being given so much like free will to just choose. Like the old is gone, okay? It's gone. Saturn is not going back to Pisces, probably for many of us to experience in this lifetime. Some will. For sure, none of us is going to experience Neptune in Pisces again, ever. Not in this incarnation anyway. So, certain things are never coming back. So, what is the new thing that you want instead? Because universe, when something is removed, there is a space created. So, the trading is such a multi-dimensional word to decept.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting to see, and I can see multiple layers of how that could come up and how we each might individually be experiencing energies this month, and also as a collective. And again, it's not all bad. It really isn't. It does feel very like we can get in on this. We get to weigh in on how, I mean, there's all the framework of, and that's exactly what we look to things like the stars and the cards as giving us sort of the template of potential or the structure around it, but then we're making choices within it to create the experience that we have, and we're becoming more and more aware of that. So
Mm.
that's where, to your analogy about the child, I was thinking when you said that, initially you pick out a couple pants, sticking with the fabrics of like, okay, what would you like to wear today? This or this? The illusion of choice, right? Because I've said it's going to be one of these two pre-approved choices, but you feel empowered to choose. And then, of course, as they get older, that changes and they start to have more, power over, their own choices. So yeah, it's just kind of like we've had training wheels on and we've graduated and now we're stepping into, kind of taking the seat at the helm of being the magician this year and in creating, and that involves playing with things and seeing what works and what doesn't, and recognizing that there could be mistakes or things that don't turn out the way that we thought they would, but ultimately we see as we understand why at soul level that's what we desired to experience.
Absolutely, because at the end you get into the same destination, and this spirit just gave me a very funny image in my head, like when I go to Slovakia and I'm with my little baby nephew, and I give him like a piggyback ride, and I know where we're going. We're going to my parents' place, right? So it's not like a question of like what is the final destination of this particular trip. It's like, well, which way do you want to go? Do you want us to walk left or right? Do you want to see that scenery or that scenery? But we know where we're going. We're still going to the same place. But when you said about the two pans of
Yeah,
pre-approved options, so
yeah,
literally the spirit just put the image in my head when I, carry my little baby nephew on my back, and I'm like, well, which way do you want to go? This way or this way? And then he feels like, hey, I have a choice. But I mean, we're still going where I said we're going, and I'm
right.
carrying you there because you're on my neck. So it's funny because that's exactly how it is.
It is. It's so funny how everywhere we look, there's symbolism and, metaphor for, again, riding on the shoulders of our big self, behind the curtain, who's turning the wheel of destiny. So they're really ultimately, it just doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter, So it's all for the experience, which is how we were dropped in here as the fool. So, we kind of come full circle to that energy of just for the fun of it, for the joy, for the being compelled to experience. But when we're centered in doing that from a place of love and compassion, and the threads that are creating that are what set the tone for the way that we might experience the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a very nice thought to end on.
Yes. All right. Well, so we'll enter into the second month of this new year and see where it takes us. And you never know, maybe we will pop in this month for a little mid-month check-in, with all the things going on. We'll have to see,
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe
let's
with
see
the
where
Lunar
the
New
where the
Year.
life takes us in the midst of eclipses. But Marisa, tell people how they can connect, where they can find you, what's on the menu this month.
Well, we are kicking off a new empowerment pack this month we're hitting the ground running with a loaded double. We're going to do a double feature reading for the month ahead and for the full moon in Leo. I do a special reading this month for the Lunar New Year. So we'll have all that going on, whether joining me for the empowerment pack or over in my free space on my Sharecast. The empowerment Sharecast is where I'll be doing some fun things. I have some fun themed decks for the fire horse, and that's we're just and the year ahead reading is also still available. I'm moving through all of the ones that were reserved, but I do like, especially with all these firsts that we have, you can always have a reading from calendar year, lunar new year, astrological year, so that's all still available as well. So we'll just put the link below and all the ways we can catch up in this next month. How about
Yep,
you?
and I'm excited receiving mine, especially after the
Patiently
conversation.
waiting for yours. I'm excited to see what comes up for you too. So,
Awesome. And yeah, if you are an Aquarius or Pisces or even Capricorn, I still honor that you can book any readings with me with 25% discount. I haven't decided whether I'll be doing something special for the eclipses, so just keep your eye out. I might come up with some ideas about some extra offerings. And yeah, and I'll be definitely keeping my eyes peeled whether we'll be popping up somewhere in the middle of the month and how everything, all these energies will play out. So we can discuss all of that when we meet next time for our episode number 11, 47.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Awesome. Well, thank you as always, Marissa. It was a pleasure. And thank you everyone for listening who is still with us. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.